Ooh, baby, we learned a lot last night. If you happen to catch Carlos King and Dr. Heavenly's live, okay? Now, as you guys know, on Tuesdays, we typically cover, all of the fallout that has occurred as a result of the new episode of Married to Medicine. Married to Medicine is that show right now. If you guys are not watching, I mean, what are you doing? Bravo TV, y'all need to go ahead and put Married to Medicine on at 8 p.m. and then put Potomac on at the 9 p.m. so that we can maximize our enjoyment as early as possible on Sunday night, okay? Because quiet is kept. I don't even know if I would watch Potomac at this point if Married to Medicine was on first. And I've said this before. Now, I got to shout out Dr. Heavenly and Carlos because from my vantage point, I think that I saw when I was watching it on Dr. Heavenly's page, there were at least 6.7 or 9,000 people watching. And I think that there were an additional 5,000 people watching from Carlos's end, totaling to about 11,000 people watching. So some of y'all might have already seen this, but you know how we got to do it. We got to recap some of the highlights, okay? So in our review yesterday, in case you missed it, okay, it's right here. This is the thumbnail for our review. We talked about how, in my opinion, I felt like last night's episode, well, Sunday night's episode felt like a little bit of a gang up on Quad if you did not know everything surrounding the situation, i.e., things about Quad and the behind the scenes tea that sort of lend itself to why the ladies were reacting to her so coldly on the show. Okay. So we talked about quite a few of those things in yesterday's video. So I want to touch on the new things that we happened to learn in last night's live and sort of the implications of what they may mean for the show, which is always fun to me. All right, so one of the things that we learned was that, oh, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do so. Hit that notification bell button and hit the like button on this video if you like Married to Medicine content. All right, so Heavenly apparently, so one of the things that Carlos said, and we're going to talk from the perspective of some of the things that Carlos felt, okay? Um, he really talked about how the lady should have also actually held Phaedra to the fire for not really providing much content except for, yeah, child, yeah, this, that, and the thirds. So much attention had been focused on Quad, and I felt like there was a lot that happened with Phaedra with regards to her allegedly telling Quad that she didn't want to bring her on the trip to Napa. I wish we had seen that in the episode. And so Carlos talked about, the lack of Phaedra, okay, integration into the overall story on the show. And in terms of what she's providing, in terms of what we're getting to know about her, right? Because we know much more about her than we did before? Not really yet, okay? And so Heavenly told Carlos that she told Phaedra that she was going to ask her all about the stuff on Housewives, like what happened on Housewives, why she ended up leaving Housewives. I'm assuming stuff about Apollo as well. Phaedra apparently she broke down and was like, and let me put the alleged badge up here because this is according to Dr. Heavenly. Now, I 100% believe Dr. Heavenly because I just don't think that the woman is lying. Okay. I just don't. It's questionable about whether or not she should be telling us, but thank you. Okay. Anyway, because if Dr. Heavenly didn't tell us, we wouldn't be able to put together all these pieces to the complete story, right? So anyway, apparently when she told Phaedra she was going to ask her these things, Phaedra broke down and said, "This is a different show. I don't want to talk about that stuff." And apparently she went back and told either the production company or the network, and she complained and they completely shut that thing down. They don't want to have any dialogue or conversation about anything in the past having to do with the accusations that came out on the Housewives show, okay, related to Kandi and Portia. Probably for the best, to be honest with you, because, I mean, it would be a subtle reminder to the people of what happened back in the day. I mean, that's the truth of the matter. Much as we like Phaedra, I love Phaedra. I think Phaedra is amazing television. I'm so fascinated by her life. But at the end of the day, I mean, that is a little bit of a stain on her stellar Southern Belle reputation. Isn't it? Is it not? Is it not? Okay. And it also lets us know that it reminds us that Phaedra is also not perfect. Okay. Not as perfect as she would like to present. Okay. Um, but I don't mind an imperfect person, to be honest with you. I don't mind that. So I don't mind seeing an imperfect side of Phaedra. But again, Phaedra, as Dr. Heavenly states, is smart television, and the network acquiesced because guess what? The network is in the business of Phaedra. Okay. They want Phaedra. They understand her value. They understand that she is comic relief. They saw what she was able to do on not only Dubai, but they saw what she was able to do on Ultimate Girls Trip, which is why they invited her back for a second one. I don't know if we'll ever see that one, but you know, they recognize that value in Phaedra. Now, the other thing that I want to mention that happened a little bit later with regards to Phaedra is apparently they were trying to bring Apollo's wife onto Married to Medicine. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, indeed. Now, I don't know who it was. I don't know if it was going to be like Toya and Sweet Tea in response to Phaedra bringing Quad down to Sweet Tea's bachelorette or whatever like that. Um, I don't know who it was. Dr. Heavenly didn't really say. She just said they. So I don't know that could have been production. I don't know who it was. All I do know is that she said they. Okay, so I'm just doing a process of elimination, okay? Educated guesses. Who it could have been, all right? And apparently Dr. Simone shut that down, okay? Because she said that we don't know what that situation was or is for her, so we don't want to do that, which I actually respect quite a bit. Would I mind seeing Apollo as a father figure being on the show? If that is in fact the role that he is playing at this point in their lives, if that's the reality of it, I wouldn't mind seeing him. And as a result of Apollo then seeing his wife, that I'm not mad about. I mean, and to be quite honest with you, it's interesting that they haven't tried to get Apollo and his wife to be on Real Housewives of Atlanta because honestly, you know that Apollo is active, okay? And what I mean by that active, remember the back in the days when he was on the show, the man was active. Now, given his time away, I don't know how they would want that, but I mean, Teresa had time away. The only difference is skin tone, to be quite honest with you. I mean, they didn't even want to film the show again until Teresa came back from camp, from band camp. Okay. So at the end of the day, and this is no judgment on anybody who has gone there. I'm just simply pointing out the facts, okay? And my theories. So I'm not necessarily sure why. I mean, unless maybe Apollo and his wife don't live the lifestyle, but I mean, at this point in time, who does? Okay. So if you're gonna be wanting somebody that's gonna bring something, we know that Apollo can bring something. Okay. Now, moving right back onto Phaedra. Phaedra also has stated that she felt like this is a different type of show because she wasn't used to people being so professional on the show, which is going to lead into some unprofessional antics that Quad is allegedly up to on this show. Like I said, alleged because we are basically taking Dr. Heavenly's word, which she's a credible source for me. Okay. So, Phaedra talked about how professional they are on this show, meaning people show up on time. You know, people, you know, they're decent and in order. They don't take all night to do things. And you know, Dr. Heavenly said it's because we got to work. Okay, don't nobody have time to be, you know, running around late and stuff like that. That's business. That's costly, and that's something that Quad was allegedly accused of doing, running late. Okay, three hours late. Okay, according to Dr. Heavenly. Now, see, that's another thing. I told you guys yesterday. I said there might be some level of difficulty when it comes to Quad. And so Dr. Heavenly is filling us in on these little tidbits. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, Carlos felt like they were deplorable to Quad. And I did say in my review, it was hard to watch because If you are simply watching the show, it appeared that those girls did not want to invite her. They did not want her there. They were cold to her when she got there. And it seemed like everybody just kind of turned on her. But there's a reason why. Okay. And I'm glad that Carlos said what he said, because from a viewer's perspective, that's what it looked like, right? But then I said in my review, we had to look beyond what we were seeing, because again, they only have 42 minutes, right? So you can't give us everything in that 42 minutes. That's why these lives with Dr. Heavenly and Carlos is important. Important. Okay. So Dr. Heavenly says that Quad showed her ever-loving booty at the repast, the funeral service, okay, and said that she was literally just there to collect the check. Yeah, yeah. Things that you probably don't want to say on your job. You know what I'm saying? Like, who says that? Like, I'm just here to collect a check. Why would I say that if I want to continue to collect that check? That sounds crazy to me. And it's like you might think that, but don't say it. Things that you don't say at work. Okay. You don't answer the phone and a customer is calling you and you work in customer service and say, I don't really want to talk to you right now, but tell me what your issue is. BI. Nobody's saying that. So why would you say that? Anyway, and apparently everybody was pissed about it. She showed no remorse, according to Dr. Heavenly, and told production that she had no emotional attachment to anyone except maybe Dr. Simone. Now, we're going to get into that in 1 second. Stick around. Do not go nowhere, because that is important. Okay. So apparently, Tea Time, Quad was allegedly only contracted for 4 episodes. Now, that I said it before. I said it before. Now, for me, Sherlock Homeboy right here, I'm just following the breadcrumbs, right? I looked at what happened with Nene, and I thought to myself, I think the same thing happened with Vicky Gumbelson. I think they offered Tamara the same thing when she ended up quitting. I said, I feel like they only offered her a certain amount of episodes. Now, I thought that they might have just offered her the episodes that she was in, but apparently it was only 4, and they ended up putting her in 8. However, if next week is her last episode, and that's episode, 7? Then the 8th episode is going to be at the end of the season, most likely. Apparently, she shows up at the end of the season for the finale, but she ended up coming so late. She don't even know. Dr. Heavenly don't even know if it's going to be in the episode or not. So who knows? You know what I'm saying? So the thing about this is what I was saying. I think I said this about the Nene situation. For me, show up for those 6 episodes. Show up for those 4 episodes, because the likelihood is that you show up for those episodes and you make enough noise and you show out enough in a good way, they're going to continue to invite you back. And that was what Dr. Heavenly was saying. They are clearly wanting to work with Quad, but it is Quad who is sabotaging herself, according to Dr. Heavenly. And that's what it seems like from the outside. Now, I understand you've been on this show for what, like 8, 9, 10 years at this point, right? We would say 9, and then this is going to be your 10th, right? So at that point, you probably like, I got seniority. Why am I, why am I only, contracted for this amount? And we're going to get into that in a minute. But you got to put your ego to the side, baby. This is business. And so the business is entertainment, and entertainment is, I'm going to tell y'all the truth. Everybody's indispensable. Everybody is dispensable. Let me say that. I'm going to let you know that right now. Okay. This is coming to you from someone who was at work on a news show for which I moved across the country for, went to work on a Friday morning. Okay. Found out after we did our morning news, we working for 3 hours straight. We finished our show that morning. They pull us in the green room and tell us, here is your last paycheck. Okay. So what I know for sure is, in this world of entertainment, it's always up in the air, and it's the game you play. But you just got to learn how to play the game smart. When that happened, I moved right on along. I'm gonna tell y'all the truth. I think I told y'all this story before. I was talking to Funky Dineva. He said, take your tail down to the YouTube and talk about what you want to talk about. Talk about what you've been talking about on that show on the YouTube. And next thing you know, here we are. Okay. That's why I always give my brother a shout out, because he really put me on game. Okay. And so what I learned from that situation is, beyond the other things that I've told you guys that I've learned in entertainment, is you have got to be smart about how you play the game. Okay. Um, and now look at us. Look at us. We done built a whole family community here. You know what I'm saying? I have joined some of my favorite people on this platform, and now we got a good thing going. So that's what I mean. What you got to play the game smart, Quad. Like, and I don't know if she not, and I'm sure she in her feelings right now. But there's a large segment of us that love seeing Quad on this show, and I know that there are some people that don't. But I'm one of those people that love seeing her on the show. So I'm just trying to, like, Quad, come on, like, you got to play the game. And Dr. Heavenly even said they probably still interested in her. Okay. But the ego got to be removed. Now, we talked about her being late to scenes, allegedly. And Dr. Heavenly says that Quad is now different than how she was in May. So in May, when all of this was being filmed, Quad has gone through some things that have been very severe over the summer. So she's at a different place than she was earlier. And I will tell you, life will definitely affect you when traumatic things happen. I can attest to this. It has been a very dark year for me. I lost someone very close to me last year, and it has affected my entire year. I'm just starting to feel somewhat okay again. Working has helped, right? Working keeps me active or whatever like that. And I'm focusing on talking to y'all. I'm focused on what we need to do, what we need to talk about. But when I get off here, that's when I still have to face myself and how I feel about that loss, right? So anyway, I understand how that could, alter her perspective and ground her a bit more. You know what I'm saying? Um, and so apparently during the repast, when Toya and Quad got into it, they say that it was almost, I mean, we saw them getting into the pointing thing, but apparently it was almost a fist fight, and they didn't show exactly how bad it was, which is why Phaedra stepped back and did not want to participate in bringing Quad to another group event and then having to face the wrath of Toya, who had already apparently went off on her, which we did not see, okay, about doing so. So, Carlos says that Quad was the breakout star of the show when it started, and because Quad gave performance, and we saw the destruction of her marriage, and she gave good conflict. So, Doctor Carlos also said that Dr. Heavenly also has that same level of star power, and she brought a level of comedy to the show that was also needed as well. So, Dr. Heavenly doesn't think that Quad is going anywhere. She doesn't. Okay. She says that they gave her 4 and then they gave her 8. They want to be in business with you. Okay. But it's still a business. She says if you missing scenes and you coming late and talking ish and going to the executives and cursing them out, cursing out the executives, it's not going to work. Dr. Heavenly says she's still trying to get the executives to bring her back or whatever like that. And she basically says that nobody's bigger than the show. And she kind of references Nene when she says it. Apparently, Quad was supposed to bring Phaedra on, but she didn't film those first couple of weeks. So Phaedra ended up coming in with Dr. Heavenly and Dr. Jackie at that vault event that she had for her store. So apparently what really happened though, how Phaedra really got onto the show, because I think Quad intimated that she was supposed to be the one she thinks that she's the person that really brought Phaedra in. Apparently, I guess maybe during BravoCon, they had done a panel and Dr. Jackie said to Phaedra, well, why don't you come hang with us since you're dating a doctor? And so the producers had already started calling her. So they already wanted Phaedra from Married to Medicine. Also, Dr. Heavenly said that allegedly, okay, Quad was saying in negotiations for her contract, well, why does Jackie make more than I do when I'm more valuable? Or that Phaedra shouldn't be making this much because she's not even showing her man. She ain't got no man. Did y'all know that? Now, these are the things that Quad was allegedly saying that ended up getting back to the cast, which now also informs us on why the cast feel the way that they feel. And Dr. Simone said at the funeral service when Quad popped up out of the coffin, are we gonna all be on equal footing? Catch that? Did you catch it? Okay. Um, so it's getting back to the people what Quad is saying. And then she says you come back 4 weeks later, and then they give you one more episode, and then they take away one of everyone else's episode. And I'm like, wait, so it is giving Quad more episodes, which means more money, gonna take away from an episode count from the rest of the cast? Because if that's also the case, I'm looking at my money like, now, if I'm believing what is being said, you're late, you don't like us, you ain't got no emotional connection to us, you're cursing out the people, now you're talking about why are we getting paid this and that and the third, and you not, and I'm getting an episode taken away, which means more money out of my pocket, girl gone. That's how I can see now if that is the case, right? So apparently they had Dr. Alicia ready to go because they thought that Quad wasn't going to be coming, and they had to do the best that they could with what they had to work with. They do talk about, it seemed like Quad had developed an ego. Dr. Heavenly talked about she's begging them not to get rid of Quad, but regardless, the show will go on. But she'll be 3 hours late to scenes with no apologies. That's when Carlos said that he heard Quad came for the finale because it was boring. Dr. Heavenly says she came for 10 minutes because she was mad late again. Apparently, in Napa, Quad came hard at Simone. Now, this is something that I really got to keep the alleged badge up for, because Dr. Heavenly said because Simone knew that that Quad was being hurt, or the word that she used was abused in her marriage. Now, this is something that has been alluded to before. It does raise some alarms to me, because I don't know if that's mental or otherwise. So I don't know how to touch this subject because I feel like it's way more sensitive than what I am qualified to do. So I'm gonna leave it at that. But that to me is concerning, okay, for a lot of reasons. I'm gonna let you go with that. All right. And again, everything is alleged, but that what was said. Okay. So anyway, and Simone feels like she didn't know about that until after the divorce, and apparently no one knew about it until afterwards, allegedly. Dr. Heavenly says it's also hard to be Quad's friend, and it's exhausting because I feel like there's a lot of expectation and Quad's feelings get hurt really easily. Carlos asked, is Phaedra a good friend to Quad? And Heavenly said, I think Phaedra loves her children. Okay. Meaning I took from that, like, Phaedra loves her children more. Like, Phaedra is in it, like she needs to be paid, and she knows she needs to do what she needs to do in order to stay paid. So that's the tea, man. That's the tea that we got from last night. Those are the highlights for me. The things that I wrote down. There was if you did not see it, go back and watch it. It is so good, so juicy, and it fills in a lot of blanks. Okay. I will place links in the description so that you guys can go back and watch it for yourself. With that being said, I will catch you all in the next video.